Hey y'all, it's Amanda. Welcome back to the channel. Well, there goes that stuff. This one's not working.
Hey y'all, it's Amanda. Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to talk about the books I read in October. Alright y'all, so I want to talk about the books I read since the last video that you saw for like a weekly wrap up I had when Blake and I were at the cabin. I will link that video if you've not seen it, but the first 3 books I read this month I talked about in that video. And we will talk more about like the readathons and stuff too that I participated in towards the end of the video. I probably will do like an editing clip just for that because I want to be able to look at the computer and kind of see the prompts that I fulfilled for each readathon. But I participated in the Middle Earth readathon, hosted by a lot of people, but primarily Reese at the writing Songbird. I can't remember everyone. I know Holly, Celestia, Christy A. Cole. Was that it? Sorry girls, I can't remember everybody. I will leave their information, the host and everything for that one down below, and also participated in Katie's Journey Through the Bible readathon. I know she had a co-host. The name is leaving me. Please forgive me. Also forgive background noise be outside of my front porch. And then I also participated in Chantel from Chantel Reads All Day, her Cozy Cottage readathon. But I don't have all that stuff in front of me. I want to talk about the books out here while we can in this awesome outside setting, and while my neighbor's really anxious sitting out here, okay? Because reasons. So at the end of the video, I'll just do like an editing clip and kind of look at my computer and tell you what I fit for the prompts. But for the sake of the video, let's talk about the books I read so far since that last video. As of right now, the filming of this video, I'm in the middle of Hope Like Wildflowers by Basham. I'm buddy reading this with Caitlin at Chronicles of a Book Nerd. This has been a slow buddy read for us because me and her both have been super busy, but this is Pepper's newest release, early October. This is part of her Heart of the Mountains series. Is it Heart of the Mountains? No, that's book 2. Is it My Heart Belongs series? I don't know. Book 1's Laurel's Dream, book 2's Heart of the Mountains, and this is book 3, Hope Like Wildflowers. And I'm loving this, you guys. I'm like halfway through it so far, so hopefully I can finish this soon, but more thoughts to come in the November wrap up on that one. And then we're going to get into the rest of the books. Alright, so first book I want to talk about is Tea with Elephants by Robin Jones Gunn. This is a new release that released this month. I had this to honestly read and review from the publisher, and I'm so glad I picked this book. I give this 4 stars. Really enjoyed it. You saw me do like a read with me with this book. I talked about it while I was at the cabin and some of my vlogs and stuff. So you already have heard me talk a little bit about this, but I want to do my formal wrap up here because I didn't really get to talk about that in full. So this book is such a good friendship contemporary Christian fiction story. Great faith content. I loved it. It's just full of friendship and faith and family and all the good things that you want in a contemporary, like, best friends story, right? Like that good female friendship story. This is it. This is the one you want to pick up. So very heartfelt. You're going to have to be on this journey through this self-discovery with our characters on a safari in Africa, and there's all this like these stunning landscapes and just details about Africa. I really felt like I was there. One thing on the back of the book is this book was actually inspired by Robin's trips to Africa, where she strolled through a tea field, slept in a treetop hotel on Mount Kenya, and went on a safari with her Kenyan friend who makes delicious masala chai tea. And I certainly enjoyed all those details in here, all the travel, the tea, the food, the culture. It was so good. Felt very connected to the characters, and I really like the writing style, faith content, all those good things. So in this we have our characters Fern and Lily. I've got my notes here, so please ignore me looking over here, but like names have left me. Okay, so you already know, if you've been around for a while, you know I have to look at notes sometimes, so yeah. But Fern and Lily, and they first connected while volunteering on a trip many years ago when they were teenagers. And so 20 years later, they are embarking on this long-awaited trip to Africa. They meant to go many years ago, and now they finally have the time to go. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed this. You really see how both of the characters are struggling in different things. Fern is dealing with the loss of her job at a Christian publishing company, and she's unsure of like what's her next step in life. And then we see Lily has issues going on in her marriage. And so we see both of these ladies really experience a lot of personal growth and lessons through these different challenges and different perspectives with each other. It's just one of those really good female friendships. Like, you know, you have that sister in Christ think about that person, like that person who's always there for you, encouragement, no matter what you are going through, the Lord is still with you in your friendship. No matter how much time has passed, you all are still friends, right? And like, I love those type of stories, and that really is what showed in this book as well. So highly recommend this if you like a good travel story, a friendship story, all those good things. This is definitely one to pick up. Okay, I have read some of Robin Jones Gunn's books before, and really glad that I finished this one. Who is that? Is that the name? Okay, where are they going? Y'all, I ain't found out front. It's at the front of my house. Uh-oh, there goes the book. Sorry. Read this. It's good. Okay. I'm just gonna move on because I need to hurry up. I'm nervous as I'll get out. Y'all, what is this? I don't want to have to stop filming this. If I do, forgive me. Okay, hold on. I dropped this book, and I really need this book, but I don't want to, like... Okay, hold on. We don't want to drop books. Okay. Do I cut that out? Do I leave it? I don't know. This is reality. Okay. Life's not perfect. Filming's not perfect. That's okay. Next book I picked up was Mistletoe Season. You guys, this was super cute. Okay, this had 3 novellas by Sheila Roberts, Kathleen Fuller, and Pepper Basham. Now, let's be real. Did I pick it up because Pepper Basham? I did. But I'm so glad I did. I actually pre-ordered this one. I did have the audiobook too through NetGalley, but so that's how I read it. I ain't gonna lie. But I'm glad I got my physical copy because I actually love these novellas. This was a 4-star for me. Every one of them I get 4 stars. Like, honestly, they were all just like really cute, heartwarming Christmas reads. We have Return to Mistletoe, which is by Kathleen Fuller. Then we have The Mistletoe Prince by Pepper Basham, and then Say No to Mistletoe by Sheila Roberts. And so each one of these I gave 4 stars. I've never read anything about Kathleen or Sheila before, so I'm looking forward to reading more by them in the future. But in Return to Mistletoe by Kathleen Fuller, we have a very unique romance between the 2 characters. They're in their 40s. I really liked it because you don't see a lot of those characters in their 40s portrayed in books very often. And so in this one, we have Emmy, who is fully rooted in her community. There's an antique shop. The antique shop added an extra layer of charm for this story. Our main guy in the first story is Kieran, and like I said, we had Emmy. And so Kieran, he has spent years abroad. He's been renovating like this old Irish castle, and he returns to Mistletoe for his mother's 70th birthday. We see him start to like reconnect with Emmy, who is his sister's close friend, and spend time helping around the shop and all those good things. And so then we have a romance, you know, the rest of history. So that was cute. Then we have The Mistletoe Prince. Now, you see Luke Edgewood show up in this one. So if you've read Loyally Luke, you already know who those characters are. So the Skamarian Islands, a series, love that series. Authentically Izzy, Penelope, Positively Penelope, and Loyally Luke. And so we see Ellie and Luke in this short story here, or novella. And so it is the longest novella too in this book. In this one we have Prince Aaron, and he has lost his fairy tale life. Okay, he has this 3 months punishment, we'll say punishment, in the small town of Ransom, North Carolina. And so he has to prove that he's ready for his royal life by participating in the Christmas charity fundraiser, the Mistletoe Wish. And so the fundraiser is going to force Aaron, is that how you say his name, Aaron? That's how I'm saying it. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but it forces him to like be more interactive with the community and everything. And he meets this girl there, the romance, the rest is history, but we see a lot of good details here with Luke and Ellie as well in this story. So it was just a really good, well-rounded story. Like funny, Luke, he comes in with the quips, you already know. So really enjoyed that one. And then Say No to Mistletoe by Sheila Roberts. That one made me laugh out loud a lot. I think that actually might be my favorite of the one. I don't know. I really like the one by Pepper, but don't get me wrong, but like the other ones actually really stood out to me too. I really enjoyed them. So, but Sheila's story really impressed me more than I thought it would. So I'm excited to read more by her. This one had a lot of like mistletoe mishaps. So like our main girl, she always would kiss under the mistletoe honey. Her name was Haley Fairchild. She's a romance author. I mean, this was giving Christmas rom-com, you guys. And so in that one, we see how she's always kissed under the mistletoe, always had disaster, embarrassment, all this stuff. And she ends up meeting back up with her handsome neighbor, Carwin, is that his name? Yeah, star of the basketball team, all that stuff from a long time ago. And he kissed her under the mistletoe a long time ago. And so that was like a big embarrassment and all this stuff. So now she's back home. She's determined to say no to mistletoe, right? Until the second chance happens with her and Carwin, and the rest is history. So I laughed a lot with that one. So like, these are just really cute novellas to read during Christmas time. Y'all, check them out. They're pretty good. I really like the audiobook. I thought the narration was good. So this is one, The Premonition at Withers Farm, Jaime Jo Wright, is the next book I read. And I love this. I give it 5 stars. It's one of my favorite Jaime Jo books. so far. I mean, right up there with Castle Moreau, Barlow Theater. Like, I love this so much. I'm so glad I read it. This had me so invested. She knows how to write these good books. Like, I'm telling you guys, she keeps you engaged in this one. Dual timeline, as always, perfect to read during the fall time. Obviously, from the cover, you can kind of tell. But there's just so much mystery and intrigue in this that I was like, I need to know. So in this one, we have present day and then, of course, a dual timeline where the other one's in the 1900s. And we see Molly Wozniak. I think I vlogged this too, didn't I? I think I did. I talked about it somewhere in the cabin. I don't even remember. But Molly Wozniak, who is with her husband Trent, she moves to this remote farm in the countryside, and she's hoping like for a fresh start with her marriage because they have experienced a lot of miscarriages and things. Honey, the hubs interrupted me. So anyway, Withers Farm holds a lot of these dark secrets and stuff, and like Molly's starting to figure out different discoveries of these secrets and unsolved murders from back then, and all this stuff she's trying to figure out with the farm's history. Then in the earlier timeline, set in the early 1900s, we follow Pearliette Van Hilton, and she's like this self-proclaimed rural healer. Her mother claims to be like a spiritualist, which is why it says premonition. Okay, there's like all this stuff going on there, but Jaime Jo, of course, she explains it. She always explains this stuff, the supernatural with the reality, and she combats those things with faith, and I love that in this book. So we see how the truth of the matter comes to light in this. Mother, like I said, she claims to be this spiritualist, but the local doctor is convinced that they're both involved in quackery, we'll say. And so you see Pearliette become involved in like a string of murders here at Withers Farm, and she even starts to realize like what's the real truth. And so her character to me was really fascinating, like really trying to get to the bottom line of what was going on, and because she's like straddling the line of skepticism and belief and faith and all these things, and Jaime Jo really tied that together very nicely. So yeah, I think if you like good Christian suspense and you want that eerie type read, pick this up. It was really good. So as always, like, I just really enjoyed her books, which I did read another Jaime Jo this month. So let's go ahead and just skip to that while we're here, because actually it's crazy. This one actually was not my favorite Jaime Jo so far. I think this is maybe my least favorite so far, but I'm saying that it's a 3-star, right? Like it's a 3.5. It wasn't bad. But for whatever reason, I just couldn't get on with the dual timeline in this one as much. Normally, I don't have troubles with that, but maybe because I listened to the audio in this, I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but that is The Curse of Misty Wayfair by Jaime Jo. So I will leave my full review for all these books, by the way, down below as always, but this had some good like mental health and autism representation that I personally really liked. That aspect, as an autism mama, I really like to see that in this book. Really atmospheric and all these things, but for whatever reason it fell a little bit flat just from me getting confused with the dual timeline and didn't really understand some of the genealogy stuff that was going on in this one. But still, Jaime Jo keeps like this atmospheric read just at the forefront. Like it's gothic, it's eerie, it's like mystery, historical fiction, almost like psychological suspense, thriller-ish in this one. I really liked it. I think if you like those haunting stories, you will enjoy it. I really like those aspects of it. It's just like the dual timeline and the genealogy stuff, like I just didn't feel like the timelines, I should say, were very different. I was getting confused on who was what, like who was who, what was going on for whatever reason. They just didn't feel very different. And I think a lot of that does have to do with me listening to it on audio, so take me with a grain of salt. But it's hard too. Like this is one of her earlier ones, and I think like where I've read so many of her books now, like it's just like really hard to go back to like earlier reads sometimes, because you're comparing it to their other works where they're just so up here, like Barlow Theater and Premonition, Withers Farm, and then Castle Moreau, like even Echoes Among the Stones, like all of those have been really good for me. But then this one, just for whatever reason, wasn't the same, but still it was a good read. Does that make sense? I don't know how to explain it. So anyway, this one we're following Thea Reid, however you say her name, in 1908 and Heidi Lane in present day. Both timelines are in Pleasant Valley, Wisconsin. And so you see how Thea in 1908, she's like a traveling post-mortem photographer where she takes pictures of people after they've passed away. And so she comes to town trying to find more information out about her birth mother, and we see her journey kind of lead her to the asylum on the outskirts of town, and she's learning a lot about the asylum and like, was her mother a patient there, all this stuff. And she gets kind of wrapped up in this ghostly tale of who Misty Wayfair was. Like, Misty Wayfair was murdered. Who was she? They say her ghost roams the all that crazy stuff, roams the town, but like, does she really like Jaime Jo again? She explains stuff very well in this. And then in present day, we see Heidi, who is struggling with anxiety, mental health, all these different things. And so she is drawn to the same town by getting this mysterious letter from her mother. And so she starts to uncover different family secrets along the way and all that stuff. And so she gets wrapped up in the mystery of Misty Wayfair as well, and the story goes on from here. So yeah, like I said, I really like the mental health stuff, the autism rep, and that stuff stood out. I think the greatest quality in this is our characters, because they really are going through things. But like I said, it just didn't hit the mark as far as her other books for me. So I did give this 3 stars on Goodreads. 3.5 really is kind of where I'm at. But I'm still really glad I read it. It's a great fall spooky read. Definitely one if you like a good gothic fiction story, very eerie, psychological thrillers, all that good stuff. So yeah, so those are the 2 Jaime Jo books I read this month, and I'm looking forward to reading this month The House on Foster Hill. So hopefully we'll see where that one lands. Okay, so the next book I read was The Burning of Rosemont Abbey by Naomi Stevens. It was so good, and this is set in 1956 England. I give this 4 stars, by the way. This is one that I read to honestly read and review as well from the publisher, and I'm glad I picked this one up because it's perfect for fans of Agatha Christie mysteries. We're set in 1956 England, and we are focused on Louisa Everly, who is trying to kind of clear her brother's name, Paul. He was accused as being the arsonist who burnt the Abbey, okay? And everything goes on from there because she's trying to clear his name, figure out where he's at, all this stuff. So I felt like this was really engaging. We have this really good mystery. Just, we got my neighbors out. Okay, hold on. Really felt like an Agatha Christie to me because we had a lot of side characters, the dynamics with the small town, and lots of suspicion spreading like wildfire. Lots of suspicions going on, honey. Okay, sorry, my neighbors just come outside. Anyway. So Louisa, she stands out because she's like this determined woman. She is going to figure out what happened with her brother. Okay, she's going to be doing all this, but she is also kind of balancing grief back and forth because she feels like she actually felt something that made her think he has passed away, and so she's wanting to still prove his innocence whether he's passed away or not. So she's kind of got this grief going because she really truly feels like that he has passed away. And so you're going through all of this trying to figure out, did he pass away, did he set this fire, what happened, all of that stuff. Very haunting atmosphere. Light faith elements were in this as well. So I think if you like British mysteries with like a modern twist, this is one you'll enjoy. So speaking of England, okay, the next book I read was Twilight at Moorington Cross by Abigail Wilson, and I gave this 4 stars. This is a clean Regency romance. There's some mystery, there's unexpected inheritance, very atmospheric, again, a gothic vibe. You can kind of tell I've read a lot of like atmospheric gothic stories, right? For the fall time, but this was a really good fall read. Perfect for the fall. I cannot emphasize that enough. Something about this, like Abigail Wilson's writing style is very good. I would say she's more clean than straight up Christian fiction, so please do not like criticize her for not having faith content in her books, because she has like that light everyday faith in her books. But I want to make sure that you know what you're getting into when you read this, because I've heard some criticism here and there, and I don't like when I hear it because that's not really what her books are meant to be. So they are clean Regency romances is what I'm going to call it. Okay, historical romance, and they're published by Thomas Nelson. And remember, Thomas Nelson doesn't always have faith content in their books, so I would say there's like light everyday type faith, if any at all. So anyway, this is my 3rd book by her, and I'm looking forward to reading more, you guys. They're just very like just nice books. They're just good, very captivating, like keeping you engaged, lots of intrigue, very good romance, all that stuff. And so but more like mystery layers as well. So if you like historical fiction and a dash of like Regency romance, suspense, all that stuff, twists and turns, definitely check her books out because she writes very well. This book was all about Amelia, and she had a health condition that is causing her to, like, I think it was like a sleep condition or something, and she is constantly at the hospital, and her doctor ends up murdered. What, girl? What? I was like, honey. And her name turns up in the will. And you know we like a good will and testament story, so I was here for this. And so things kind of take a turn, and she ends up receiving this unexpected inheritance, this crumbling estate known as Moorington Cross. So she gets the Moorington Cross, honey, and she's like, what? But to claim the inheritance, I think she has to marry one of two men that's outlined here. And she's like, I don't want to marry either one of them. So this guy that starts helping her, as things would have it, Ewan, was his name Ewan? Ewan? I don't remember. Ewan Hawkins, Mr. Hawkins, whatever. He starts helping her. And guess what? He obviously ends up being the one that she's more interested in than the two options she's supposed to marry. And things go on from here. So very slow burn romance. I really enjoyed it. You got to read her, y'all. I don't know, there's something about her books, they just like, they're palate cleanse, you know, they're just really good stories. I've enjoyed them. Now we're going to talk about one that's actually a 24 and 2024 read. You guys, look at me, I finished one. Actually, I forgot, I had two this month. Both of these, The Premonition at Wither's Farm and Unyielding Hope, were 2 24 and 2024 books that Blake picked. Look at me go. I think I still got 7 left though, so it's not gonna happen. It's fine. So anyway, so this is Unyielding Hope by Jeanette Oak and Laurel Oak. Logan, this is book 1 in the When Hope Calls series. I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars. Audiobook was great. I got it from my library. Thank the Lord. We got a Canada setting in this. It's Christian fiction. It's kind of like the Hallmark show. I think there was a Hallmark show actually done from this. There's sister bond. A little bit of romance. I would say this is more so the sister bond and the family and all that stuff, but I liked it enough to purchase book 2 and 3. I did. So I'm looking forward to continue on in this series. It was definitely one that I need to know. The way it ended, I need to know. So you've got like these second chances in the family, lots of good things there. So I was surprised how much I really liked this. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. The faith in this was what really stood out to me. It was very heavy in faith content, so I really liked that. But this opens up with our girl Lillian, and so she spent most of her life in Canada with her adoptive parents after her birth family had passed away, and so she ends up finding out that her actual long-lost sister Grace survived from what she thought she had passed away. They all thought each other had passed away. So Grace didn't know about Lillian, Lillian didn't know about Grace, and they are reconnected. And it's just a beautiful story where their world is turned upside down, but it's in the best way. So they're reconnecting, and they embark on this mission to care for orphan children in foster care and all this stuff, because they had been through that in their own life, and they're wanting to open up a home for them in their hometown, and they want to create this entire place of safety and learning for the children, and that's really the heart of the story, and I really liked that. Faith stands out among the crowd in this, like it really does. It was the best part of this, because there were prayers, church going, all those good things. The characters were facing some really hard decisions, and they really trusted in the Lord through that. And yeah, looking forward to book 2 after that. That was a very surprising read for me. The next book I read was one I don't physically own and I don't plan to own. Y'all, you're gonna be like, what? So I Think I Was Murdered by Colleen Coble and Rick Acker. Y'all, I give this 2 star. I put 2 to 2.5. It's 2 star. I don't know what happened. I buddy read this with my friend Teresa. Honey, it was like an impromptu buddy read. But me and Teresa, we both had the audiobook from NetGalley on this, and I'm really glad I did, because I had pre-ordered this. I canceled the pre-order. Now, let me just start by saying I loved what we had by Colleen and Rick. I don't know what it was about this one that just like was a no, but anyway, I got to meet them. They were very nice people. Don't get me wrong with this. I ain't bashing them at all. It's just this story. This is not tied to the What We Had series, Topella Grove series at all. That book 2 comes out next year. So this is like a standalone, all that stuff. But in this one, I don't know, this book was just disjointed. It didn't live up to my expectations. And I don't know, I'm still interested to kind of see what happens after What We Had in the next book in that series, but this one, glad it's not a series. At least I don't think it's a series. It just wasn't it for me. So we have a grieving widow in this series named Katrina, and she's talking to this AI program. It's like a chatbot who is posing as her husband who had passed away, Jason. And so the chatbot was developed, and it's like, I think it's still kind of in beta, and it has like all of his social media stuff, pictures, phone information, like all of his personal information. So it really knows him, knows his past. It can explain things. Like you could ask it something and it sends a picture from like their anniversary trip, all this stuff. And so she's grieving, and I totally understand the grief in this. Like, everybody grieves in their own way. That's not really why it wasn't for me. What it bothered me so much was like how much she really felt like it was him. And like she keeps saying like calling it Jason, like knowing in her heart that it's not him, but she has such a hard time. That did bother me a little bit. And I will say AI can be scary stuff. Like I knew getting into this I didn't know how I'd feel about it, because I still don't know like what I feel with the whole AI thing. But in this, like, the chatbot responds to her, I think I was murdered, and so then she thinks that he was murdered, and she goes on the hunt to figure out what really happened to him, and then we go on from here. What mostly bothered me, I think, about this was the side characters and the mysteries going on. Like, if we just would have been focused maybe on, like, sorry if you hear Blake and LaMan in there, I hear them, but if we would have just focused on, like, the mystery with Jason, I probably would have liked it better. But it was just like, there's all this side stuff going on. I didn't care. It was like a weird love triangle with one of the side characters. The romances in this, I did not buy at all. Like, I just didn't connect with it. There's one girl who's pregnant in this, and like there were some crazy circumstances going on with that was weird. And there was a lot of times like, yo, they be out here hiking. I'm like, girl, she pregnant. What are you doing? Like, this don't make any sense. And it bothered me. There was so much about this. Like, it just felt so disjointed for me. And so I think if you want more like legal mystery suspense story, check this out. But like, it just wasn't for me. A lot of people like this, and don't get me wrong, so I'm probably the unpopular opinion for once, right? Like, I don't give out lots of 2-star. Like, it's pretty rare. I think this might be the only second 2-star this year, and I might start being more strict on my ratings, so we'll see. But like, I've loved a lot of the Colleen books I've read, so this is the first one I was like, what? But it didn't feel like Colleen Coble. It felt like such a legal, like lots of legal stuff that I was like, I didn't care about. And again, I didn't feel any connection to those characters. I got annoyed with her constantly being like, calling that chatbot Jason. It would have been fine if it was made for like the first 25%, but like literally we're 60% in, you're still saying it's Jason. Like, I'm needing her to have a little bit of growth. Like, there was just so much that I just wasn't interested in with this. So it fell flat. Take me with a grain of salt. Not bashing you if you like anything, if you like this book, don't get me wrong, but it just wasn't for me. The next book I want to talk about is Forever After All by Mandy Blake, and this is book 6 in the Wolf Creek Ranch series. I finished the series off. I'm so excited to finish this. I did a full Mandy Blake reading vlog that was out actually this last Saturday, so if you missed that, please go check that out. I have all my thoughts about this book and her newest Christmas book, which we'll talk about next. But this was a Friends to More Christian romance, lots of good redemption moments. The characters are stranded together in several different circumstances, and it just had great faith content as usual in a Mandy Blake. And so this makes, what, 11 books by her I've read now, so looking forward to reading more. But this was just wrapped up so beautifully. We saw Jess and Link, and they went together so well. Jess is going on all these different dates, and like they really don't work out. And so Link, he's like trying to kind of help her, but then she's like, I just don't know about these dates, and like there's lots of funny circumstances. I was cackling, but like, they obviously like each other, you know they do from the very beginning, but they're just kind of afraid to work through that because they have a lot of issues in their past with parents. And he actually was in jail and prison for arson and all these things that he had going on in his past. He doesn't feel good enough for her, she doesn't feel good enough for him, like all this stuff. And so the Lord, he really has plans for both these characters in their lives, and you see that again throughout all Mandy's stories. You really see how good the Lord is in this one, and I really felt a lot of these things relatable in my own faith walk. Jess starts to see Link in this new light. There was a slow burn romance with them. They're thrown together, they're stranded, all this stuff, you know, there's all this good stuff. And then a threat kind of comes in. There's a little bit of suspense in the end, of course, and the rest of the history. So yeah, I really like the characters. Very relatable moments. I went through a season of life where I didn't feel good enough as well in my life, and due to different past mistakes I had made, and yet the Lord, he pursued me, led me to see how his plans were enough for me and good for me. And you really see how he does that for Link in this book. Somebody's coming. Okay, sorry, my neighbors. Oh my gosh, y'all, this is hard. So anyway, like I was saying, Jess, she was great. She don't play no games. She's very blunt. She's up front. She lets you know what she thinks. I really liked that about her. And it was just a really good testament. This book was a really good testament, like, of the, like, how important it is to face your inner struggles, seek the Lord in those, and I just love the conclusion. You had a good epilogue with all of like the other characters in the series. It was really good. So check out my vlog for more thoughts on that. And then of course I read Healing the Cowboy, which was her newest Christmas release this month, and actually last month I should say, in October. And it was great. If you like friends to lovers, horses, cowboys, all the good things, cowboy romance, you know, found family, and he falls first, she takes care of him, those sort of tropes, pick this up. It was super cute. I have a full review with all the quotable moments I personally enjoyed, but this is in the Christmas and Redemption Ridge series. I will leave a link down below for that series as well. And I had the best time reading this. It was all about Clint and Nora St. James, and Nora, she hasn't returned home, and her father, he's like gambling and stuff, and so he has caused them to lose their farm due to financial stuff. And then Clint comes in. He's always been her friend from like a long time. He was going to confess his feelings from the very beginning, but he doesn't, and circumstances happen and stuff, and so they end up helping her and her family because, you know, the whole gambling thing, they lost the farm. And so you see how she's trying to figure all that out and navigate through that. She has some issues with her mom in the past, and so you see Clint helping her with all of that as well. And the rest really is history, because she's grappling with all these feelings and stuff. And then he actually gets hurt, I should say, obviously Healing the Cowboy. My neighbors. He ends up getting hurt, and so she has to help with his injury and all of that stuff. So I love like seeing her take care of him and all that good stuff as well. So highly recommend. Great Christmas read. It's got Thanksgiving and Christmas in it as well, so just a really great Christmas book. So the rest of the books I want to talk about are nonfiction reads. Hopefully I did not forget anything. If I did, I'll edit the video. But I want to talk about Honest Faith by Charles Spurgeon. This is a Christian nonfiction that was a read-along hosted by Tiffany over at Beautiful Minutia, and Dia from Novel Idea, and Christy at Chrissy's Purple Library. They had a really great read along this last month, and I will link their channels down below. But Tiffany had the live shows, so I will try to link those as well if I have enough characters and stuff for you to check that out. But this was very inspiring. It's another good Christian nonfiction. I'm really glad that they did this read along, because I don't know that I would have picked it up otherwise. Spurgeon just has a really great way of exploring faith, and you know, some really great metaphors that really make you think, and just the way that he represents the struggles in our Christian faith and our Christian walk, and just trying to like maintain our walk and our faith in a world filled of uncertainty. It's just so good. Like, I just get so much out of it, even if I don't understand every little thing he says. Like, I really get a lot out of his books. The writing's poetic, and a lot of it is understandable for the most part. There are a couple things sometimes I don't always understand, but you know, their discussion really helped me understand a lot of the things in it as well. So it's the perfect type of book for a good discussion. So I think this is really great for anyone who's really wanting a deeper understanding of faith and historical things like that. So yeah, I highly recommend. It makes you really sit down and think. Really, those conversations are so edifying and like important to me that like it just feels like we have church. Like, it really feels like we're having church with the girls. Like, I loved the discussions that they had. So that makes it, of course, elevated up here, you know, so I give it 5 stars. Then I finally finished The Fight for Female by Lisa Bevere, and this one I give 4 stars. It wasn't like my favorite Christian nonfiction. It's hard to compete with like the Spurgeons, like the Joy in Christ Present books and all that stuff. And I will say Joy in Christ Presence is definitely better than The Honest Faith for me, just because the way that was so more relatable and more in-depth, I think. But it's hard to compare to that book, but still Honest Faith was good. But then we have, like I said, The Fight for Female. It's hard to compare Christian nonfiction books, but this one was like still a really good one. It just wasn't like elevated to that 5-star level for me, but I love Lisa Bevere. Her husband's great. I got to see her at church before, so that was really nice. But this was a really important, well-needed book for today's society, and just seeing Lisa dive right into all the cultural, spiritual, and social society, I should say, challenges in today's world. She was not going to hold back. Okay. She goes through a lot of different things that the enemy is doing to try to distort and twist biblical truths, and she is giving us messages for hope in this world and everything that we're seeing, you know. And so she calls for women to really unite, embrace their God-given identity, and she emphasizes in this book the need for us to have these open, honest conversations, both with the Lord and within our communities, to just truly find solutions that are rooted in truth, biblical truths. This was a very compelling call to action to urges women to rise up and fight for the very core of their identity, not only for ourselves, but for generations to come. So that's kind of what I said in my review. But, you know, like I said, I really enjoyed it. It wasn't a favorite of all time, but I'm glad that she wrote this at such a time when we really need this conversation of everything that she was talking about. So that was really good. And then the other Christian nonfiction that I finished is actually one that I own. And last but not least, not least at all, is Finding Kind. And this is one of my favorite Christian nonfictions now of all time by Carrie Baker. And this was sent to me by the publisher to honestly read and review. And I'm so glad that I read this, you guys. This book is something I really needed. I had actually forgot to talk about it in my TBR, and I was like, oh yeah, I need to read that. So this came out on October 22nd, 23rd, 24th, somewhere in there. But this is perfect for the special needs mama. Okay, I'm a special needs mama, autism mama, and my son's like almost 6 years old. Such a journey we've went through, but short version is this is very relatable, faith-filled, 5 stars, perfect Christian nonfiction. Anytime that I find a good Christian nonfiction for special needs motherhood, I'm gonna tell you, because you don't see a lot of those out there. So I feel like the Lord really put those, my little man, I see you near him, he knows. But I felt the Lord really put the publisher like in my path. They sent me a message on Instagram and asked me to read this. I never would have heard about this book had they not done that. So I truly believe the Lord put this book in my path. And I'm so glad that I did, because I cried several times, you guys. And there's like, there was talks about his baptism. Her son's now 13, so she's talking about their journey from the very beginning, all of the mistakes made and grief, and just, she gave me so much different perspective of like, we're not just gonna sit in this. Like, a lot of the things she felt was like she was self-inflicting it in a way. She was very vulnerable in sharing her story. What is on paper was not the final word for her son. And it's not the final word for God. And well, there goes somebody's stuff in my emotional, sentimental moment. Honey, cut your car alarm off. What you doing? I'm trying to film a video now, son. Thank you. Okay, so anyway, how the Lord was still working in her family and seeing her son believe in the Lord. Like, he actually says, I believe now, mommy. Like, he was able to tell her that. Like, that is something that we really, I needed to read, I guess just to say. And one of the things that really touched me is, like, my friend sent me a reel talking about John 9, where, let me find it. Just sit a moment. Okay. The scripture says, as he went along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Neither this man nor his parents sinned, said Jesus, but this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. That's John 9, 1-3. And what's crazy is, again, the Lord can't bring me back to that scripture, because my 2 friends, Chrissy and Lindsay, they sent me the same reel where this woman was talking about that scripture and her son with autism and everything that she was going through. And then I read this book, and that showed up again, and it took me out. I was sobbing. I was like, it was one of those like full circle moments of the Lord really like bringing me to him. And she talks about, perhaps most importantly, without autism, Brady wouldn't be Brady. He is fearfully and wonderfully made. He is smart, funny, kind, truthful, faith-filled, and fearless. He is exactly the child I prayed for and more. He is a gift to me and to the world. He was put on this planet for a purpose, so the world could see the works of God through him, just like John 9 promised. And like, those are just some, I have several quotes I quoted in my review. Please check it out. But that just touched me in such a way. And she talks about how her pain through these diagnoses and everything was real, but she said a lot of it was self-induced. Like, she says she was clinging desperately to her broken plan, unwilling to accept that maybe, just maybe, God's plan was better. She was sacrificing the joy that she had in front of her for the bitterness of misplaced entitlement to a life that never belonged to her. And boy, was that relatable. I had so much conviction in that, because so many times we get wrapped up in like, this is what it's supposed to look like. Life is supposed to look like this. I didn't expect this in my life. Like, especially as parents, like, you really get wrapped up in like what you thought life was going to be like, right? But then you got the curveball of everything going on. But at the end of the day, a lot of that is self-induced. It's comparison trap. It's looking and comparing your life to other people's kids and other people's lives on social media, all that stuff. And at the end of the day, the Lord's, his plan is better for you and your life and your child. I mean, truly. And she says, I was in chains of my own making, refusing to recognize that what I thought was holding me back was really leading me to a new purpose. Relatable. There was so much in this. So like, her story gave me a different perspective. Highly recommend. One of my favorite books of the month. I will be referring back to this. I mean, I was going through this book, y'all. I mean, you can't see my highlights hardly because they're in green, but I highlighted a lot in this. Yeah, I think that's everything that I read this month. I'm sorry, there was like 15 books total this month. Lots of audiobooks as always. Girl, honey, you know me. I did read a little bit more physically than I normally do. I'm looking at my reviews just to make sure. Yeah. The other 3 books that I read in the last video was Britta and the Beach Boy by Brittany Larson. That was a 4-star. Reckless Love by Kate Goodwin was a 5-star. And then The One by Kiera Cass. That was a 4-star. So yeah, that's everything that I read this month. So let's go ahead and cut to me talking about like all of the readathons that happened in the last month and where I landed with all the prompts. Hey, I am back. Okay, I almost forgot. I started sitting down to edit this video. I thought, oh, I didn't do this. So yeah, I'm at the computer in Blake's room. And I've just really come to love sitting at Blake's desk to do this little filming setup sometimes. I'm sorry the phone's shaking. This ain't good. We need to figure this out. I wanted to just wrap up the readathon prompts and everything. I had 3 readathons I participated in, so let's go ahead and get into it. So for the Middle Earth readathon, which, hey, the Writing Songbird, Love Them with Holly, Celestia, and Christy A. Cole. Did I remember right or what? Hey, girls. So, love that they did this.
I didn't really get to sit on any of their... Well, okay. You know what? This is life.
I did not get to sit in on any of their sprints, but they had a lot of good reading sprints, it looked like, this last month. So, check those out. I'm sure they had lots of good chit-chats and Middle Earth Q&A and fun things. But for the prompts, we had Laurel. Y'all, Legolas, Toriel, and Keeley, a book with a love triangle. And for that, I had The One by Kiera Cass, because there's a love triangle in the selection series. So, hey, fit the prompts. Then we have Gimli and Legolas, a book with unlikely best friends. And I picked Mistletoe Season because I believe there was some, like, that situation come up in one of them novellas. We're going to go on with it. I don't even remember now. This was on here from the beginning of the month. I had forgot, but it's okay. Then we've got An Unexpected Journey, a book where they go on a journey, and I picked Tea with Elephants by Robin Jones Gunn because they went on the safari trip in Africa. So that was quite the journey. Then we've got Shield Maiden, a book with a strong feminine lead, and I picked Reckless Love by Kate Goodwin because our main girl in there was so strong. Absolutely loved her. Everything she'd been through, honey, so good. Then we've got Samwise Gamgee, a book with an unlikely hero. I put the Premonition at Wither's Farm. I'm trying to remember why. Why did I put that? Is that... I need to go look at my review. Because, you know what? Am I really stretching the prompts? Probably. We are probably stretching the prompts, y'all. So, yeah, I would say so. Unlikely hero. Because, okay, I ain't gonna say. Yeah, I can see it. Alright, next prompt was Second Breakfast, a book that's a sequel. This is the only prompt I didn't fail, you guys. I had no books this month that were book 2 in a series. So I had book 6 in a series, but it doesn't sequel mean like number 2, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah. Finding Kind is the... Oh, what am I saying? Backwards here. My Precious, your most prized book. And for this month, I would say out of the month that I read all of these books, that the most prized book would be Finding Kind by Carrie A. Baker because of just the impact, obviously, that it had on me in the reading experience. Lost words. My brain went to outer space. While I was reading it, it just really impacted me as a special needs mama, so... Then Gandalf the Grey, a book with a mentor. So I picked Forever After All by Mandy Blake. Definitely felt like they kind of mentored each other in a way. So Arwen and Aragorn. Aragorn and Arwen. A book with an epic love story. And I picked Reckless Love by Kate Goodwin because the best love story of them all is The Lord Who Loves Us. So, yeah, pick that. So that's everything I had for the Middle Earth Readathon. And for Katie's Journey Through the Bible Readathon, she had like this really fun, like, where are you going? What are you hunting for? Who are you going to meet? There's booby traps, kind of like Indiana Jones spin on it. And how do you escape? So this was hosted by Katie at Paperbacks and Ponytails and This Bookish Cottage. And so I can't remember if you could like put multiple books on the board, but I just picked one for each because I think I've done that before, but I just picked one for each. So for Where You Going, I picked Jerusalem. Read a wartime era book, and for that I chose Burning at Rosemont. Is it The Burning at? Wait, what's that say? The Burning of Rosemont. Not Rosemont. Oh my gosh. Rosemont Abbey. Moving on. And then What Are You Hunting For? I picked Rod of Moses. So that says listen and read. And so I picked Mistletoe Season because I listened to the audiobook through NetGalley on that. Who Are You Going to Meet? I picked Tomb Raiders, which is a murder cozy mystery. And I picked I Think I Was Murdered by Colin Coble and Rick Acker. Then Booby Traps, I picked Filling with Sand, a book you could finish in one day. That could be Healing the Cowboy, but I put Forever After All by Mandy Blake. So both of those really are quick reads. And then How Do You Escape? I picked Bullwhip. Snag a popular new release, and I put Tea with Elephants on that one. So yeah, that's what I filled in for that. And then we have got, let's see, for the Cozy Cottage Readathon hosted by Chantel at Chantel Reads All Day. This, I'm stretching a little bit, but we're here. So for Rainy Day, hers was kind of like you had a physical and a book prompt. I didn't meet all the physical prompts, but for the Rainy Day, I picked I Think I Was Murdered. The book itself kind of looks like a rainy day to me on the cover, so I picked it for that. And then the physical, I'm pretty sure it was raining probably when I read that. It's on my board for a reason, so I'm assuming that's why. Then Next to a Fireplace. Now, look, when I was at the cabin, we had a little fire pit going, and I was reading Tea with Elephants at that point, so that would count. But you have to read books, individual books for each prompt, so I needed Drinking Tea to be the prompt for Tea with Elephants. So I decided to say Next to a Fireplace was Burning at Rosemont Abbey, or of Rosemont Abbey. Oh my gosh, I can't even say words. Rosemont Abbey was the one I picked for that because of the fire on the cover. Even though it's not a fireplace. I'm pushing the limits. Okay. And I had the book when I was there at the fireplace. I just didn't read it. So, whoops. Moving on. And then With a Blanket. This is a stretch too. Girl, you know me. I just can't. With a Blanket, she got a shawl. There ain't no blanket on any of the covers. Okay, so yeah, she has a shawl. Can that count? Anyway, but I know I had blankets anytime I was reading any of these books. So there you go. Under the Trees. So I picked Reckless Love. There's trees on the cover, so that counts. Your girl didn't read outside, so we didn't get the physical prompt on that. Fresh Baking. I picked Britta and the Beach Boy because she was like at a coffee shop, and I know they probably had some like scones and stuff, so we picked that. I didn't do no baking, so. Didn't get the physical on that. In the Dark, I picked The Curse of Misty Wayfair, and I know I read this at night, so that can count for both, and it's dark on the cover. And it's kind of a dark, suspenseful read. Then On a Hike, I put Honest Faith on this by Spurgeon because there are mountains on the cover, so there you go. But I didn't go no hike, honey, so. And then Drinking Tea. I put Tea with Elephants because of obvious tea reference there, but I don't really drink a lot of tea, so I didn't get the physical on that. I might have had a cup of tea this month, but who knows. So, yeah, that's everything for the readathons and everything that I participated in. Always love trying to support my friends whenever I can, if it's not too stressful for me to kind of put everything together. So I did make the effort this last month. So there are some readathons happening in the month of November, so hopefully I can participate in some of those, and we'll see how that goes. That's everything I have for you guys. So sorry if this is too long of a video, but you know, this is kind of more of like a real-time video where a lot of my other stuff is going to be more scheduled out. I literally, y'all, I mean, everything's been scheduled. Okay, so let me just go ahead and tell you right now, if you really, someone who really wants to know, because I don't care, I don't like when people keep stuff secret too long. Like, Come on, just tell me. But I do have one thing I'm going to keep behind the scenes. Some of y'all know, but I'll keep behind the scenes coming in December. But for the most part, I'll tell y'all what's going on. And then, so what am I doing? Okay, so November 7th, we've got the coffee book tag. 11th, we've got the book tower challenge. Y'all, I filmed these a month ago. Let's see, November 14th, we have got book ranks with food, cooking, baking, or chefs. And then my Christmas TBR is November 18th. Christmas book ranks is November 21st. And then I have stuff scheduled in December. So I'll probably have like the TBR after that, wrap-ups, a vlog, who knows. I really want to vlog across the ages, you guys. It come in. I did a reel on Instagram. What? So it come in and it was gorgeous. My pre-order come in. So hopefully I can be reading that this month as well. My besties. I'm so excited about it. So, but that's it for me, guys. I know I've talked long enough, but I hope that y'all are doing well whenever you're watching this. Let me know. Let's chat below in the comments. As always, let's talk about the books you read this month. Have you read any of these? Let's chit chat below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye, y'all.